So are you in the market for a new camera? Maybe one that takes both photos and videos? Well, this is the video for you guys because I don't want you guys to get ripped off. I want to give you some useful, practical tips as to what you should think about before you invest in either your first or your next camera. Hey guys, it's Derek. Welcome back to my channel. And as usual, it's raining, but that's okay because we're here to help you. And in this video, I want to give you a few pieces of advice from someone who's owned a lot of cameras, who's done some professional work with photography and video in the past. And I just wanted to give you my 2 cents as to how you can choose your next, or actually your first camera, in a way that will make you happy and will hopefully save you some money in the long term and allow you to enjoy this piece of tech. No matter what you get when it comes to a camera, you're looking at upwards of $1,000 or more dollars. And that's not a small amount of money. And what I want to do is to help you find the best piece of tech that suits your budget and the needs that you have. Because if you go into any computer/camera store, if you look up any websites of major camera brands, you're going to see so many options that you might be so confused as to, I actually have no idea what I want to get. And you might make the mistake in that situation of buying something that's either too basic for you, or buying something that's way out of your league and that the learning curve is so steep that you just don't want to invest the time to do that, which is perfectly fine because not every one of us want to be professional photographers. Not every one of us want to be professional videographers. But however, I think all of us want to get a good deal. And number 2, everyone wants us to get the camera that's going to help us do what we want to do with it. So the first thing we've got to decide before you click the buy button, before you hop in the car and go to the mall and ask questions of this salesperson who, by the way, is not through any fault of their own. Most of these guys have a salary, but they also work on commission. And basically what they want to do is sell you the camera that earns them the most money in terms of commission. They're not 100% invested in your needs. And that's why I strongly suggest that you must do your research before you go, so that you know what they're talking about and you know what you're talking about and you know exactly what you want, so you don't get convinced into buying something that you don't want. Because my number one thing about any sort of tech, and I've made this mistake many times and I've sworn to myself I'm never going to make it again, but I probably will. My principle is you buy the piece of tech within your affordability range. You buy a piece of tech, for example, in this case, a camera, you buy the best camera that you can afford without busting the bank. Because what you want to do is, the number one regret of any piece of tech I've ever bought is when I brought it home, is when I find out this doesn't have all the functions that I want it to have, and this is not something that I can grow into, because if I want to expand my skills later, this camera is just not capable of doing it, and that is the worst. I'd rather be able to get something that I can grow into, i.e. has more specification, has more abilities, has more options later on, as long as that stays within my budget, because it will extend the longevity of your camera significantly, and ultimately it will save you money. So here we go. Question number 1. Number 1 question is, what do you want to do with this camera? Now, most of us aren't going to be professional photographers. Most of us aren't going to be professional videographers, but all of us are going to want to have a camera that kind of does a nice job, so that when we get our photos or our videos, they're not a pile of crap that we don't want to use, or we can't look at, or we can't share because the quality is so bad. As you can imagine, the range between an average camera and a professional camera, thousands and thousands of dollars. Do you need to spend $1,000? Do you need to spend $10,000? What do you actually do? First thing you got to decide is, what do you want to use this camera for? Now, 95% of people out here who are watching this video are going to want a camera that takes nice pictures, nice video, isn't too hard to use, and you're probably going to want to take pictures of things like your family, your kids, your pets, take some nice photos and videos when you go on vacation. And almost every single camera on the market right now in 2024 is going to be able to meet those needs to a certain degree. Once you've decided, yep, that sounds like exactly me, that sounds like exactly what I want to do, the next thing is, what sort of form factor do you want? Are you happy just to use your phone, for example, in which case you just saved yourself $1,000 because you just used your phone. But if you actually want to buy a dedicated camera, the first thing you're going to think of is, do I want something that's portable? Do I want something that I can change lenses and has more ability to expand? Do I want to have something that is waterproof and I can take into the ocean? Do I want something that shoots really good video? Do I want something that I don't care about video and I just want really good pictures? They're things that will determine your decision. And you best make those decisions prior to going to the shop, because I can guarantee you the salesperson's not going to help you make these decisions, because one is they don't know what you want, and two is it takes too much time. That's a reality of the situation. You go to a shop like JB Hi-Fi in Australia, or you go to Best Buy in the US, they want to make money. They don't want to spend an hour with you going through all these features of a camera, which potentially you might not buy, or you're going to get all this information and then you're going to bugger off and buy it online. You need to go in there armed with some information and some decisions yourself, so that they may be able to just give you that final cross the T's and dot the I's so you can make the final decision. But you don't want to go there with absolutely no clue what you want, because I can guarantee you 9 out of 10 times they're not going to steer you in the right direction. One other thing that causes a regret when it comes to buying cameras is the size. Okay, let's forget about the price for a minute. Let's talk about the size, because a lot of people think they want to get a big camera that they can change lenses on and that they can shoot really nice photos. But the question is, this is something that is a lot of people don't think about, is, are you going to actually use it? You can get a big ass professional DSLR or a mirrorless camera which allows you to put 600mm f4 lenses on it, where you can take pictures of giraffes from a kilometer away and still be able to see their eyes. But most people aren't going to want to do that. But even those who do want to do that, they've just forgotten how expensive and how heavy these pieces of equipment are. A big lens, which is like this long, weighs like 3 kilos. And are you really going to want to carry that around when you go on vacation? And bear in mind that a 600mm lens, for example, doesn't have a lot of practical applications if you're, say, walking around the city. You're not going to be able to use that lens at all. It's going to be so noticeable that people are going to freak out and stare at you as soon as you see it. And realistically, unless you want to take pictures of people's noses, a 600mm lens is of no good to you unless you do wildlife, unless you do sport. So don't get yourself hooked into this whole, I want the best of everything, because practicality is really important. Not to mention these lenses are fragile and they're super heavy and they're super, super, super expensive. And if you're going to just have a lens that you're going to use once a year, you're better off going to rent it, because there's no point spending all this money. So have a think about exactly what you want, and have a think about what you're prepared to carry. Because when you go on holidays, do you want to just have your phone? Do you want to just have a little point and shoot? Do you want like a GoPro? Or are you happy to lug around a camera bag with a camera body or two and some lenses on it and maybe a flash and all that kind of stuff? Because after that, it gets heavy, it gets burdensome. And if you're going to go on a vacation and leave your camera in the hotel safe the entire time, there's absolutely no reason to bring it whatsoever. So now let's hop onto the budget. Ideally, we would have unlimited money. We can buy whatever we want, and it doesn't matter, because even though the camera is like a luxury expense, we've got so much money that we can properly afford to spend 10,000 bucks on this and still be able to pay our rent, pay for our kids going to school, pay for the groceries, pay for home insurance and all that kind of stuff. But realistically, most of us can't do that. And we have a certain limited budget. We want to stretch as much as possible to get something, like I said, that is not only good now, but helps extend the longevity of the camera, because you've got some features that you can grow into. Here's the thing. Just say your budget is $1,000, right? And the camera costs $950. And you think, this is so cool. I can afford exactly what I want, and I don't want to upgrade. I have no plans of upgrading. I have no plans of wanting to do anything more with it than what this camera is capable for. So I'm super happy, $950, well within my budget. I have $50 to spare. Hang on, there's a problem. A lot of cameras require you to spend money on extra bits that you may not have factored in. And truthfully, the salespeople may not mention that to you until the end of the sale, and I'll go into that in a second. But so, for example, if you buy a mirrorless camera which has an interchangeable lens, so basically that means you've got a camera body, you've got a lens that you screw on, you can take off and put new lenses on. Even assuming you're happy with a lens that comes with the camera, and often they're sold as like beginner's kits, you got to remember there's some other expenses which will take this purchase far above the $950 that you think you're going to spend. For example, assuming you want nothing else, are you going to want extra batteries? Are you going to want a flash? Are you going to want a tripod? Are you want to get some sort of camera bag or camera case to put the camera in? Are you going to need lens filters? Are you going to need screen protectors? Are you going to need like a camera strap? There are all these things that you don't necessarily think about. Are you going to need extra batteries? Are you going to need extra memory cards? These are all these kind of things that you may not necessarily have thought about. And what you do is you go, okay, I want this $950 camera. Let's bring it up at the till. Let's get out of here. And then they go, yes, here you go. Oh, by the way, do you need extra batteries? Do you need an extra memory card? Do you have any memory cards? Do you need a tripod? I really think you should get a flash. Do you need a lens protector because you don't want the lens to break if, a bit of dust and sand gets into it? Do you want to be able to take pictures where there's no reflection, so you might need a polarizing filter? Do you need a microphone if you're going to do video? Oh, and the other thing, do you need extended warranty? Because this camera only has a 1-year warranty, but if you pay another $200, we can extend that for 3 years. Now, I do sound like a salesperson, but that's a reality of any tech sale, is that they're going to try and upsell you. Even if you're not willing to budge in terms of the specs, like you don't want to upgrade to the next level of camera, they're going to try and sell you all this stuff. And got to be super careful about this. Even if you do need extra batteries, you need a memory card, you need a tripod, you need a camera bag, you need lens filters, the place you buy the camera may not be the ideal place for you to buy the other stuff, because they sound really cool. It's like, yeah, for $950, you get this camera with nothing, but for $1,000, we throw in like a 64 gigabyte SD card. So you're paying $50 for a 64 gigabyte SD card, but if you look next door at Officeworks or Target or whatever, that 64 gigabyte SD card is $25. So they've managed to rip you off out of $25, making you think they're going to give you a special deal because you bought the camera through them. And that's not exactly the case. So just be super careful when you do your research. Always give it an extra 15 minutes and do some research on the accessories that you'll potentially think you might be conned into buying, because invariably memory cards are cheaper somewhere else. Never get a memory card from a camera store. Batteries can be far cheaper online. Camera cases, straps, tripods and things like that, unless you want that particular brand, there's often many other choices elsewhere, and some of them are much better quality for lower prices. And things like flash, like, yes, I believe that the on-camera flash that you get is crap and I would never use it. But will you actually take the time to learn how to use a flash? Will you actually take the flash out? Because don't forget, your camera's here, your lens is here. You put a flash, it's a big giant thing here. Are you going to be wanting to take that out with you? And if you don't let the guy con you into buying something that you're never going to use. And on this subject of this whole extended warranty malarkey, I know here in Australia, there are laws which basically mean that even though the warranty of the camera is a year, if it breaks down in a year and a half and it's because there's a clear manufacturing fault, the company needs to cover you for that. So there's often not a reason to get extended warranty anyhow. So be very careful about that. Read the fine print, see exactly what they're trying to sell you and exactly what they're going to replace with. Some people try to con you in this, oh, if you get this extended warranty, for $950 you get this camera, but if you spend $300 for extended warranty, it'll cover you for the next 3 years in addition to your current manufacturer's warranty. But the good thing is if anything happens, that camera will replace it with the latest model. That's how they try to trick you. So, for example, if you get the 2024 camera, and in 2027 your camera dies and you have this extended warranty, assuming that they honor it, they theoretically give you the model that's out in 2027. So they don't replace you like for like. So they don't give you an old 2024 version. They'll give you the new one. And that sounds super tempting, but you've got to really consider what that really involves before you spend another $300 that you may not want to do. And for someone like me, I love to bargain. It's really more of a sport than anything, because you're not exactly going to make $1 million by talking this salesman down. So I find it cool. Like, let's go back to the $950 camera thing. I like it. I think it's fun if you can talk them down to like $920. But you got to make it a game. So you can't just get all shitty with them and argue and stuff like that. But you make a game, you make $30, everyone's happy, they get the sale, you get $30 off, and that's fine. But when it comes to bargaining, just be really careful and just don't get too carried away with the whole I'm saving a lot of money thing. Because quite often instead of saying, I'll give you $30 off, back to what I said earlier, they'll say, okay, I can't give you any discount on the camera, but I can give you a discount on the accessories. Now, you've got to be super careful with that. Like I mentioned, memory cards and batteries and stuff like that are invariably cheaper somewhere else. And they'll start crunching numbers on the calculator and they go, oh, for an extra $230, we can give you 2 extra batteries, we can give you a screen protector, we can give you a filter, we can give you a tripod and all this kind of stuff. Number one, is it actually what you want? And 2 is, you got to do the numbers. When you add all these accessories together, have they actually ripped you off? They make it sound good because it comes as a bundle and you assume And you know what they say about never assume anything. You assume that because you've bought the camera from them, that the accessories are going to be cheap because they told you. Don't fall for that one. So in conclusion, the whole reason you've decided to buy a new camera is so that you can have fun with it and do with it what you want to do with it at a price that you can afford. And that should be the ultimate bottom line of this whole experience. Don't fall into the trap that you want to buy something that you don't need. Don't fall in the trap that you think that they're doing you a favor by giving you a discount, because they're not. Don't think that they're helping you make a choice because they've suggested that you should get the more expensive camera when you in fact don't actually need it. Don't assume that they have your best interest at the shop when they say you should buy this giant camera because you can really grow into it, when you know yourself that you're never going to bring it out. Don't assume that they know anything about cameras, especially when you don't go to a photography store or a camera store and you go to an electronics store. Most of the salesmen aren't specifically photographers or videographers, and they will know their basic thing, but their ultimate aim, like any other salesman, their ultimate aim is to make as much money as possible. And the money that they make comes from you. So you've got to go in there armed with some knowledge. You've got to go armed with an expectation of what you want to come out with. You've got to go in there armed with a decision as to what it is we want and how much you are prepared to pay for it. Ultimately, this is kind of a little bit of a game. It's a little bit of a to and fro. As long as you leave with what you want at a price that you're reasonably happy with, like, you'll never know what the best price they're going to be able to offer you. As long as you walk away with the camera and potentially the accessories that you want at a price that you were prepared to pay, that should be the end of it. Do your research, decide what you want, decide whether it's something that you're happy to keep forever and whether you want to get something that's got a little bit of a higher spec that you can grow into. Decide the form factor, decide the price. Make all these decisions before you go, and use the camera store and the people who work there as the final kind of I just wanted someone to give me a second opinion rather than just letting them make the whole decision for you, because I can guarantee if you allow the salespeople to make the entire decision for you, 9 out of 10 times you're going to regret what you buy. There's no harm in doing research. There's no harm asking your photography or videography friends as to what they would recommend. But again, just remember that they don't know your exact situation. They will recommend what they think you should get, but ultimately you need to work out what it is that you want to get. And don't let anyone else talk you into it, out of it, and just make your own decision. And if you think that you're going to get a better deal if you wait for a sale, by all means you can wait, but there's no guarantees that sale periods are going to mean that the thing that you want is going to be sold at a discount, because invariably if you want something new, they're never included in the sale anyway, and you're much more likely to be able to, if you've got a bit of charisma, you're much more likely to be able to get the salesperson to knock a few dollars off if you're just nice to them and joke around with them. But bearing in mind that you know your pricing and you don't get conned or suckered into buying accessories that you think are cheap, which are actually not. So I know that I haven't given you any specific advice as to what camera you should get, but that's not the point of this video. My point of this video is hopefully to help you educate yourself so that you can make the best decision based on the research that you need to do, because you're going to need to put some effort into this in order to get exactly what you want at the price you want to get it. So that's it. Thank you for watching. Leave a comment below if you have any other questions about what you should do and what you should look for. But ultimately, just remember, everyone wants to give you a piece of their advice, but you are the only one who knows exactly what you want. Remember to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you next time in another video. Bye.